So, like I said, we'll be looking into 4 kinds of business based on volume and margin. Okay, and we have to, you know, take this very seriously because apart from real estate, every other thing you do that is business oriented gravitates towards this. All right, is this mic on? Okay, it gravitates around these 4 kinds of business principle. All right, so while we're treating it, just find other things you do in between the lines to see how you can grow it to have an exponential effect, even down to what we do as real estate business. So the first kind of business based on volume and margin. Okay, first of all, let's know what volume is and know what margin is. All right. So volume simply talks about how many transactions you're doing or the number of transactions you're engaged in as a business person. All right. That is volume. Then margin is simply the difference between your cost and the price. That's margin. All right. So your volume is the number of transactions you engage into as a business person. Why the margin is the difference, all right, between how much you are selling and the cost. I have told us initially that there's a difference between price and cost. Can anybody help us with that? The difference between price and cost. Okay. Price is simply how much you are selling. Okay. Why the cost talks about the demand of acquiring that product or what it takes to acquire that product. That's the cost. But the price is how much you are selling. So the interaction between the price and the cost is what determines your profit. I hope you get that. Let me say it again. The cost is what it takes you to acquire a particular commodity or product. The price is how much you are selling, okay? Because it's not what it costs you that will be your price, okay? So you're adding something. So when you now interact what it costs you and the price, in between is your profit. So why many businesses fail is because the business people lack the transactional wherewithal to establish the difference between the cost and the price. I used to do some illustration back then when this price of goods started skyrocketing. There was a woman who had some cartons of beverages in her stock. She didn't make proper inquiries. Someone came and said, I want to buy everything in your stock. She gave her price. The guy paid for everything. The woman was so happy that she sold everything in one day. She went to restock her shop. When she got there, everything had added to 2,000 per carton. The woman did not do a proper feasibility study to know the current relationship between the price and the cost. So she didn't know that if she sell at that particular price, she will make what? Losses. So that's why I said the interaction between the price and the cost is what determines your profit. Because every businessman or woman has what it costs them to acquire a particular product or commodity. And when you establish what it costs you to acquire a particular product or commodity, you will now know what you are adding on top, which will be your profit. So cumulatively, how much you are bringing it to the public to buy on a retail perspective is what controls how much you are earning from it. That is your profit. That's why I said when you check what it costs you to acquire it and how much you are bringing it to the public, in between, when you subtract it, in between will be left your profit. So you have to learn how to accommodate the two so that you have a very good profit. Otherwise, when you finish everything, you will now discover that there's no profit in the thin line. So volume talks about the number of products, the number of outputs you are able to do. So these 4 kinds of business will be determined by these two. So the first kind of business we have is what I call the graveyard business. The graveyard business. The first one is called the graveyard business. The graveyard business. So the graveyard business is characterized by low margin and low volume. The graveyard business is that kind of business that have low margin and low volume. Remember, we said that the margin is the difference between between, the price and the cost. And then the volume is talking about the quantity of products you have. So if your margin is low and your volume is low, the business is a graveyard business. Why? Because any business that have low margin and low volume cannot survive beyond the first 1 year of existence. If it pulls through beyond the first 1 year of existence, then there is an invisible actor behind the scene throwing money to support it. Because every graveyard business spends more than it earns. You have low margin, you have low volume. Example of this graveyard business is pure water business. Pure water business is low margin. You sell with 20 naira, you sell with 30 naira. That's low margin. Okay? So what sustains pure water business as a graveyard business is volume. So you cannot afford to start a pure water business which has low margin and then start with low volume. If you start with 50 bags, it cannot survive the first 3 months. Why? Because every graveyard business is a business within the confines of low margin and low volume. It cannot survive. The max it can survive is 1 year. And what will even sustain it in 1 year is that somebody is just throwing money. And the money you must be spending more than you are earning. So when you spend more than you're earning, to what end will you reach? You just have to give up, you collapse. That's what we call graveyard business, because before you know it, it returns back to the graveyard. It will not pass the true test of time. Remember what we're saying. I said I'm coming from a generic perspective so that when you marry what we're teaching to your own business and endeavor, then you will also particularize it when it has to do with real estate. So it will help you particularly as a business person, and it will help us generically as business people. All right, then the second kind of business based on volume and margin is what we call the mass market. So please, for those whose businesses are low margin and low volume, you already know what to do. You either, if it is low margin, you are selling with very little amount of money as the profit. Please make it high volume to come out of this. When you add it high volume, you become a mass market business. All right? So mass market business is simply low margin and high volume. This is very, very, very important. All right? Mass market is low margin and high volume. All right? For pure water business to conquer this stage, you have to what? Though it's a low margin business, you can use as little as 20, 30 naira to sell. All right? But you have 1,000 bags to start with. You cannot fail. You have 2,000 bags to start with. So with the high volume involved, the business survives. That's what we call mass market. It is thriving on the strength of the multitudes of the markets. All right. This is what people use to thrive in supermarkets, because there's what we call FCMG, fast moving consumer goods. FCMG, bread, milk, chocolates, toothpaste, all those stuff that supermarkets do and all of that. They sell those things sometimes with 15 naira, with 20 naira. Some they even sell with 10 naira. Very little margin, all right? But the fact that they have to pump in so much volume to have relevance. That's why some of them start up and then they close. Time will also fail us to talk about why some businesses close after a certain period of time. But if you understand what we're talking about, relate it with your own business, then you know how to survive and come out from the graveyard business, or from the lessons we are gleaning from this place is that for your business to thrive from the graveyard position to the mass market, you have to increase your volume and make it a high volume. Though low margin, it can be a high volume. All right? So it's very, very important that you understand how to make your business a mass market. Now, bringing it down to the real estate or any other endeavor, you know that your price can possibly be low. But when you increase the size of your market, you will keep retaining your market and all that. It's very, very important. And I used to say this. People think at this stage that they need more money. No, it's not a problem that you have little income. It's not a problem that you have little capital. Okay? You have to work on your market, because for you to enter into the next stage of your business, you need only volume. This is not a problem. So, but when people begin to fail and retrogress, is when they begin to think that they have little capital, and they will start going for capital drive and neglect this. So you are not entitled to more money or more capital until you increase the size of your market. It is the size of your market that will bring the next flow of income, which will lead you to what we call the boutique business. This boutique business has high margin and low volume. This is for the big boys, all right? Because through high volume under mass market, you have controlled so much market. Now the market has given you so much equity, and it turns you into a boutique business. Now you are now in boutique business, you don't necessarily need the high volume to thrive as a boutique business. All you need is high margin. Okay? At this high margin, you can afford to sell at a very high price. That's why some companies, when they make the name, they will come to this boutique business. They will hide their price. They may lose customers, but the hike of their price, if they make one sale, they will make more than companies that have some average listing. Why? Because they have made the name. Okay? Coca-Cola have been here for ages. They don't have a thorough competition. Not anywhere. They have made their name, they have made the name, and their name is selling for them. All right? You know that Coca-Cola company lost $4 billion the day that Cristiano Ronaldo removed the bottle of Coke from his front during an interview. He was being interviewed. He removed the bottle of Coke in front of him and replaced it with water. Coca-Cola company lost $4 billion in one day, in 24 hours. Why? Because it's about name, it's about the brand. When you become a boutique business, you have grown, you have become a brand. And that's why I'm even encouraging us in this business, even as a realtor, become a sensation. Create a brand out of yourself. When you become a sensation, when you become a brand, it is impossible for even people you have offended to get rid of you. They may get angry with you, you offend them, they will go back, they will try other forces, they will come back to you. That's why you need to become a brand. Don't be in a haste to leave the mass market. All right? Get high volume. Work on your volume. Work on your market. And remember, I have told us that everybody is not your market. Because what constitutes a market? A market is a group of people that are willing and able to buy. If a man is willing to buy and he does not have the capacity to buy, it's not your market. If a man is able to buy but he's not willing, he's not your market. For an individual or a people to constitute a market, they must have a cooperation of a willingness and ability. Ability talks about the purchasing power. So when you are conversing with somebody or when you are negotiating with anybody who is a potential customer, weigh those two principles. Does he have the willingness? Does he have the ability? So some of you that bug clients, bug leads, have not been able to identify these thin lines. Once you interact with somebody for the first 10, 20 minutes, you will know whether they are willing or not. Once you interact with them for the 30 minutes and onward, you will know whether they are able. There are some kind of questions they ask. You will know, is this guy, does he have the capacity to patronize me or not? When you discover that he's willing and able, that's where you take the conversation to the next level. And everybody listening to me, go and read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. You cannot afford not to have read that book. You must learn how to interact with people. Dr. Jude scratched a part of it. All right? You are not permitted to introduce business to your prospect until you have been able to establish a correlation with them. Connect with their needs, connect with their interest, connect with where they are going, connect to their sports need. If you discover that is a person that loves sports, identify the person's club. Okay, that's how you need to be versatile as a business person. You must learn to know little of one thing and everything of one thing. All right? So you'll be able to contribute meaningfully to every subject of discourse. Because you are into a particular class of business does not mean you shouldn't know sports. Because you are into a kind of business does not preclude you from knowing everything. If you must become a monster business tycoon, you have to know little of everything and everything of one thing. Because it gives you a possibility to interact with a bulk of people from different walks of life. If you see a guy who is a multinational in the oil industry, what contribution can you engage them in that will make meaning to them? You have to read voraciously and versatilely. All right? So, if you see someone who is a fan of sports and is a Man U fan, you know what happened in the last club. If you are going to talk with a person, you need to get the information. The last interview we did, a lady came to the interview desk and she did not know anything about Big Property. She said someone referred her and you didn't go to Google to even check what the company is about and what they do. You cannot afford to take the risk of delving into something you have no thorough knowledge about. If you know about the person, go and Google the person. And I have to, some of you, go to Google now, type your name, let's see what Google will bring about you. Don't you know that the posts you make on social media, everything is going to Google? So when someone will now type your name on Google, it will just bring a bulk of what you have been posting and stuff like that. So that's how it is for everybody. So you're going to meet anybody, just type their name on Google. You see what Google will write about them. They must have made posts about football, about stuff. You will now see a particular club they have identified with. Go and research about the club. Learn about the first 11 that play on the pitch. Know their names. So you're interacting. Know who scored the last goal within Manchester City and Manchester United. Know who assisted. When you go there and you meet the man, the first 10 minutes of conversation, introduce the last Man City, Man United football. Talk about it. I swear, the man will give you 30% cooperation from start without knowing you. Because you have been able to connect. He begins to see you as this guy connected with me. This guy is my club person. You tell him, I don't used to be a club fan, but recently I became a fan of Man U. You have introduced yourself as a wee corporation. Anything you say at that point, you will have a 37% bias of patronage. It's very simple. You cannot afford to go and introduce a business idea to someone you have not connected to their desire. You get a bounce response automatically. Connect with people's sense of desire, sense of approach and responsibility. Then you have a tenable access into their hearts. There are people you will do that to, you connect with them speedily. All right? Something happened when we were in New York. There was a guy that we rented this Lexus from that we're using to, move around. And the guys were pissed off because I know our host is listening to this, the administrator in New York branch. So the guy annoyed them because he didn't pay them. They stayed in the hotel waiting for him to come and pay them till 9 p.m. The guys were raging. We're going to do this guy when this our guy came, he so negotiated with them that these people that were waiting to beat him, they sat and the guy brought bottles of drink. And they were ready to join our business. They said they want to see the CEO. They called me. We sat down. I ordered extra bottles for them. Give them more bottles. We were drinking. They were talking. We were telling the guy, let's go to the site. And he said, don't put fuel for me. We will fuel our car. We'll go there. Do you know that life is all about connecting to the needs of the people? When you connect with them in their own frequency, forget about it. The reason why we are struggling is because we are trying to swim against the tide. Rest on the current of the flow of the river. It will carry you to the direction it's going. You won't struggle. When you struggle, when the river is flowing this way, swimming this way, you keep struggling. Just relax and follow the direction of the flow, and you will struggle. These things are art and science. If you match this thing in your business, you will have exponential patronage in your customership. Connect with people. Get a sensation around them. everybody is saddened, especially in Nigeria. People are looking for what will patronize their sense of humor, something that will put smiles on their face. Look for how to entertain your client for 5-10 minutes. Look for how to enter your client's or your lead's innermost being. Today is first day of the month. This is the best shot for it. Dr. Jude mentioned it. How many of you have connected to people? We're talking about high volume. We're talking about market. How do you penetrate that market? There are strategies to penetrate that market. You have to learn how to work with people. If you're into the transportation sector, do you have a system that can keep people sustained and entertained within transit? Everybody will be looking out for you the next time. We want to take advantage of this guy. Before you know it, you've captured their market. Tomorrow, if you have any other business you are doing, they'll be ready to listen. Learn how to penetrate your market. If you don't have a penetrating formula, you are not going to cross and make it to the boutique business, because the boutique business is for the big ballers. They don't need the high market. They don't need everybody. They will come out boldly and tell you we don't need you, and you will not affect their output, because your non-involvement will not affect them. Recently, a lady came out on interview and said that if she gets to know you in 24 hours, she will bill you. Okay? It made her lose all her social media handles. Her Facebook, this thing is 300,000 followers. She lost it. People were just reporting her, and she lost it. Why? Because she has not become a boutique business. She has not become a boutique brand. She cannot afford to say that. There are people that will say that. Instead of bringing them down, it will skyrocket their followership. Have you not heard about people who sex tape released? And instead of this thing to decrease their followership, it multiplied, it doubled. So they have discovered that this thing is now a strategy. More people are now doing it, releasing their sex tape, and everybody want to go and see the video. They want to go and follow them, see these people. It's not affecting them. But there's a kind of person who will do it, it will affect their business and brand. People will just dissociate from them. So when you know the level of business you operate at a certain level, you know the kind of skills to pull off. All right? So this boutique business is high margin that sustains them. And this is where we are. Okay? Our property in Uyo is selling for 5 million. We don't have high volume, but we have high margin in Uyo. If we sell 5 plots in Uyo with the high margin we have, it does not matter if we don't have high volume in Uyo. If we sell 5 plots as a boutique business operating in Akwa Ibom, we will make more in selling 10 plots in some of our estates in Ebonyi. All right? But we can afford to do that there because there is a cooperative advantage in that environment. All right? But you may not afford to do that in Abakaliki, because people will price the hell out of you, even though that you are operating like a stock shop where people shouldn't price you. They will price the hell out of you. Somebody was pricing our land of 3 million, 2 million yesterday with me down here. In some places, people will not do that. They just want to know your price. If they won't conform into it, and they will look for elsewhere. So when you survive this stage of high margin and low volume, it takes you to the 4th kind of business, which is called a high velocity business. Exactly. High margin, high volume. It is only real estate and few other kinds of business that can successfully thrive as a high velocity business. You see, Stephen Akintoya, a man I respect so much, they launched an estate within an estate in Texas, USA recently. They are selling it for how much? 500 million per acre. 500 million. And they are not begging. They are telling you we just have 19 acres and each goes for. And they are telling you it's not for everybody. We are selling it for the super rich. And guess what? People are rushing. He first of all penetrated Texas. He did a conference. To register, you have to pay $50,000. He said, if you have $50,000, connect with us. Let's do business in Texas. At that level, they are not looking for high patronage. They have high margin and they have high volume. The business can thrive. If you like, let him go to India. They can launch within 48 hours in India. They can get the attention of the president. Are you not seeing what President Donald Trump does? The man who thinks he can buy everything. All right? I know some of you must have seen that video where he was just coming out of a lounge. He saw a lady that drove out of an exotic car. He loved the car. He called her, woman, I love this your car. And I like to own it. The woman said, oh no, that's my car. The woman was still talking, I don't want, that's my car. He wrote a check and gave to the woman something that would pay off her generation. She said, wow, this is massive. He said, sir, please, can you help me get my kids off the car so that you can take it? He said, oh, I don't have time. I'm a busy man. That will waste my time. How much for your kids too? I'm buying them. He wrote another check and give to the woman. I'm buying your kids. I don't have time to bring them down from the car. Oh my God. There is nothing that is as sweet as money. As a matter of fact, the only thing better than money is more money. That's the only thing better than money. More money. So when people come and tell you that everything has a price, they know what they're talking about. You see all those people saying, if I'm in a position of authority, I won't collect bribe. Wait until you get there. Because those who criticize people who do it are the people who have more tendencies to do worse when they get there. It's statistically proven. Now, let me tell you something. Anything that you are weird to criticize with so much passion is a trait that you already have hidden in you. I don't know if you get what I said. Let me say, for instance, you have a way of criticizing people who enter into governance and they don't do well. You have passion in criticizing people who are like that. There is something in you who just connects with people who do that because some part of you can do that. So it's a trait. That's why you should run away from criticism. Run away from criticism at all costs. Because that's just the simple thing. You don't become a thief overnight. That's you don't become a thief overnight. It's a trait. So you're just looking for an opportunity to manifest the trait. So one day, you just review being a thief, whatever made you a thief. So whatever we criticize is what is hidden in us that have not yet been revealed. So spend your energy talking about positive criticism. Spend your energy talking about brands and businesses. There are people that will never comment on political issues. They will never comment on business trending issues. They are waiting for BB Niger. There are people who have not even heard that President Trump was convicted of 34 count charges. In fact, there are people who are even carrying fake news. Trump will not be going for the election because he was convicted of 34 count charges. But when we started lending our voice to it, that being convicted does not stop him from contesting, because US Constitution was silent to whether a convicted person can contest or not. Okay? Being convicted can affect a personal person, not a politician who is contesting for a position. And the man is going for that position, and he's not just contesting, he will win. In 6 hours after the conviction, through crowdfunding, they raised about 34.6 million US dollars to support his campaign. In 6 hours after the conviction. He's a sensation. He's a boutique business. He has a high velocity, high margin, and high volume. The kind of scandal in the man's name can make anybody. He said, if they write a book about a scandal concerning him, it will be a best-selling book. He knows. He's a, how do you call it? A non-conventional fellow. I love that guy. He has pride. Do you know what it means? To build a Trump Tower, one of the tallest buildings in his city. Named it after himself. Very proud man. So that's what money can do. So these are the 4 kinds of business based on margin and volume. So whatever you are doing, whatever sensation you are creating, you have to find yourself at each point from the graveyard business, especially for business that comes out from scratch, make sure it doesn't stay long as low margin and low volume. When you start off as low margin, go for volume. That's what will give you the mass market. Go for people. Because attention is currency. Attention is currency. If attention is currency, if you agree with that, then you should cut attention by all costs. That's why you see people who have discovered that since attention is currency, they don't mind using bad and negative sensation to cut attention by all costs. That's why people are releasing their sex tapes, because they want attention at all costs. Because when you give them attention, it pays them. Just following people. People have paid heavily. I don't know how many of you saw what happened at this guy's show, Brain Jotter. Yes. You saw how a woman's life was transformed. The woman got more than 20 million. More than 20 million in one show. Yes. And again, you know how much people that follow Brain Jotter because of that thing alone. They have even gathered more people. Now, let me tell you, whatever you are good at, even if nobody's clapping for you, even if nobody's celebrating you, don't stop. With consistency, persistence will wear out resistance. With consistency, keep doing it. This lady has a sensation for going to meetings in time. This is a night show. She went there by 4 p.m. Went to Transcorp. She knew she's disabled physically, that she may not get there. She went 4 p.m. She sat at the reception. Now, Brain Jotter stayed in his hotel. Something told him, just come out and stretch your legs. Since the time for the meeting have not gone. He came down, met the lady. He saw her with tickets. He said, are you part of the organizer? She said, no. She attended. She's a regular. He said, that's good. He saw her with clutches. And that was it. They just interacted. He passed. During the show, Brain Jotter walked in and said he has something in him that wants to make 2 people millionaires in this show. They called with first guy. They gave you 1 or 2 million and all that. He now told this guy to go in and pick one person randomly. When the guy went into the audience to pick somebody, he now called him and said, wait, I remember. There was a lady with clutches that I met at the reception of Transcorp. Is she here? They say she's far at the gallery, at the regular. She only registered with 19,000. There were people who paid 1 million, 1.5, 2 million to be there. She paid 19K. She was at the regular. They brought her there. She didn't even know that she had artificial hand and artificial leg at one side. She only has this side complete. They managed her and came to the stage. One man gave 4 million to support her. Brain Jotter gave 1 million. People started giving 1 million, 2 million. I almost shed tears when one man with his crew came up. He said, Brain Jotter, this thing you have done have blown us away. We are going to support you for this thing you have done. The man looked, say his colleagues will say something, but him, he's giving single-handedly and personally giving the woman 10 million. 10. These people as at that level had already raised like 15, 18 million. The man gave. Transcorp gave her 1 room to sleep that night before going. These One Airways said they're going to do papers for her to travel to Canada. How would somebody get such a thing? Let me tell you, somebody will call it luck. It's not luck. Because luck, what they call luck is when opportunity meets with preparation. She has a history of attending events in time. It has become her culture. She may be depressed. She wanted to go to that show to laugh herself away. She carried her unique representation into that event. All of a sudden, opportunity met her preparation. If she had not been in that meeting by 4 p.m., nothing will make Brain Jotter to remember her. So that which you are good at, don't stop. Nobody may be clapping for you today. Don't stop. Because the best time to apply consistency is when nobody's clapping. You have to motivate yourself. No one will tell you to look at yourself except you tell yourself to look at yourself and make yourself. That is the level you need to keep going. That's the level you need to beat your chest and have faith. But faith is the ability to take the step when you have not seen the staircase. You keep moving. So, the success of every business, 60% of the success of every business is spelled risk. It is risk. You don't have to know the full details, but you have to commit your money. And this is what I'm even saying for potential investors. And this is what an advice we have to give them, those who are our leads and all of that. Sometimes where there's no reason to convince them to buy, tell them to give it a trial. Tell them a trial will convince them. A trial will convince them. And this is simply the brand and the idea that we represent. And I want to communicate that to you. So let's briefly switch into the business part of our conversation today. Of course, we know Big Real Property Consult Limited